Battlefront 2, when this game came out, well, it was a bit of a disaster. Crazy aggressive microtransactions and a tone-deaf response from the company, which resulted in one of the most downvoted comments in Reddit history. And it very much drained the launch momentum of the game. Players were outraged, and even Disney stepped in, urging EA to remove their aggressive microtransactions. However, despite this rough start to Battlefront 2, the foundation of this game was good, and the huge content updates gradually expanded the game with new eras of the Star Wars universe, putting it on a path to redemption and delivering a title that many Star Wars fans still love. And everyone lived happily ever after at the end. Well, that is until EA abruptly ended support for the title, shifting DICE's full attention to the development of Battlefield. More content updates had been planned for Battlefront, and developers later revealed that they had hoped to support Battlefront 2 for years to come. And naturally, many Battlefront 2 fans were quite upset by EA dropping what was otherwise a fantastic game, arguably one of the best Star Wars multiplayer games ever made. But recently, a new hope, pun intended, has emerged for the game. Hype around Season 2 of Andor and some steep discounts on Steam have propelled Battlefront 2 into the spotlight once again, boosting the player counts by over 2,000% with no signs of slowing down. And I had to jump back in and just check out Battlefront 2 once again for old time's sake. And I found myself both in love with the game and deeply frustrated by how EA and DICE have handled it over the years. Let's get into it. Now, not to let the air out of the room, but if we're being upfront about the future of Battlefront, it's clear that EA and DICE basically have no plans to revitalize Battlefront 2. There's no new content in the works and no official statement about any intent to do so in the future. In fact, it's unclear if EA or DICE even intend to make another Battlefront game, period. And it leaves Battlefront 2 in kind of a weird spot, as it's still a fantastic game and really one of the only major multiplayer PvP-focused Star Wars games around, or at least that people are playing at all. It's got some of the most insane graphics for any Star Wars game. In fact, it looks so good I put it on my best looking games ever list, and I think it still deserves a spot there even this many years later. Few games have attempted to recreate so many iconic locations from the Star Wars universe and done such a good job of it. They've designed tons of planets across multiple eras. They've photogrammetry scanned the original assets from the original Star Wars movie to make the game as authentic as possible. There's a massive list of soldiers, heroes, villains from all different eras of the universe, in-depth character abilities and weapon customization, plus alternative modes with space dogfights, robust PvE co-op, and even hero versus villain duels. Oh, and it's also got a single-player campaign that I would say is competent with an interesting narrative, but not exactly the main focus of the title either. It really is a complete Star Wars package, and the fact that fans keep coming back to this title many, many years later shows just how good it is at its core. And booting it up again, I mean, just, you gotta gawk at the graphics. Watching these massive drilling droids crash into the buildings on Kamino, the sunlight filtering through the trees on Yavin 4, and the exotic, colorful landscape of Felucia just reminds me that the Battlefront 2 team was on another level. Truly, like, they were working with older engine tech and they made a game that looks just as good as anything that's out today. Now, I will say this time around I got knee-deep in unlocking some new abilities and weapons that I had neglected for a while and started to optimize more of my classes. I hadn't unlocked the NT-242 sniper rifle until now, and it completely changed the game for me as far as long-range combat is concerned. It was very satisfying getting those one-shot kills all over the place, and I could even handle some enemy heroes. This game has that fun dynamic where you can just mix heroes in with the common soldiers, and they can absolutely obliterate people. Getting massive chain lightning kills with Palpatine never gets old. And there's even a deep meta to canceling out opponent abilities with heroes and villains that I've barely scratched the surface of. There's a surprising amount of depth when it comes to actually mastering each and every class and hero. And while I wouldn't call Battlefront 2 overly deep when it comes to, say, the gunplay or something like that, it's still really engaging when you take it seriously and try to win matches. It makes up for some of the lack in gunplay skill with a lot of ability, timing, and movement skill that you really have to be on top of if you want to win duels. PvP matches tend to get really sweaty, and I even joined some matches in progress that had been going on for hours. Now, if you're looking for a slightly more casual experience, the PvE co-op mode that DICE added back in, I think, like 2019 is still one of my favorite ways to play the game. The fact that you're playing against bots doesn't really seem to suck the joy out of it because the game does such a great job of making you feel like you're fighting an entire army. And that can especially help when that entire army is literally robots. Then you're like, well, yeah, of course we're fighting bots. They are bots. It's also a great way of ranking up your guns and unlocking new star card abilities since PvP is full of players that have everything unlocked already. Now, it's going to be hard to talk about or even play Battlefront 2 without bringing up one of the biggest problems for the game, and that is cheaters. This game has had a serious cheater issue. I joined a match of Galactic Assault on Crate and wondered why everyone was looking up at the sky. I figured it out when I fired my first gun and immediately got stuck in a cinematic view. This is the result of a hacker running amok in the match, and apparently it's a pretty common problem. The chat was livid about it, with one player saying he'd been trying to get a match on Crate for ages, just to finally get one and for it to be hacked. On the bright side, it does seem like hackers either can't disrupt some of the other modes or just choose not to, as I didn't run into such extensive issues in my other matches, but on the flip side, there's no server browser or ability to pick specific game modes that you play. So if there is a mode that hackers can't ruin, there's no guarantee that you'll actually get to play that mode anyway. And cheating and hacking in Battlefront 2 has been a major issue for years, with various levels of EA protecting the game versus neglecting the game. Hackers routinely deploy exploits that crash servers, kill all players instantly, and even block objectives from being captured. What's worse is that some of these hacks can even be run automatically without players even able to join a match. And truly, I find it hard to understand why players want to cannibalize their own games so much. I know some players argue that it's tied into corporate backlash and decisions made around franchises and stuff like that, but this happens in all games, and for whatever reason, hackers just want to destroy all the nice things that we have. It's really absurd considering how expensive it gets for developers to combat cheating. You go, okay, well, this money would have gone into more content, more support, but now it's just going into trying to prevent cheating. Now, I know DICE has made some progress or attempts to fix cheating in the past, but it's an ongoing battle, and so lapses from EA's side mean that the cheaters gain a big advantage. And especially if they're not going to release new content updates, I would hope that they're still putting in a good effort to keep this game as stable and playable as possible, especially when it's incredibly popular right now. On a corporate level, EA may chalk Battlefront 2 up as a title that was probably more trouble than it was worth. From dealing with Disney's rules about what you can and can't do in a Star Wars game to the incredible cheating and the backlash on microtransactions, they might just look at it as like, let's just not touch this franchise again. But I really hope that they see the staying power of this game and how many players come back to it to play it over and over again. I really hope that there's an announcement for a Battlefront 3 someday to build upon the success that this game has achieved. Now, I'd be curious to know in the comments if you've jumped back into Battlefront 2 lately, if you think we're getting a Battlefront 3 anytime soon, and if you enjoyed this coverage, don't forget to drop me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and next up, check out that video about the best looking games ever made. Battlefront 2 is on the list, and so are a lot of other games. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.